In this video, I'm going to show you all how to mark your front piece and your back piece for your very cute quilted garment. Let's get into it. From ElizabethMadeThis.com, and I am bringing you part 2 today of the quilted jacket series that I'm doing here. And yesterday we looked at how to make the quilt sandwich to base everything together and to start quilting the fronts and the backs. Yesterday I gave you some options for patterns that you could use that would work for this tutorial, and we also talked about how to assemble the quilt sandwich to get going and before we got going on our quilting expedition, which we're going to do today. So today we are going to mark the back piece and mark the front piece, and we're going to get started quilting with both of those pieces. So I will see you in a little bit in the next clip. And I'm going to go ahead and start marking my quilting lines. I'm going to start doing that on my back pattern piece, and that is because we want to make sure that all of our lines are going to line up along the outside edge. So you can see I marked my grain line, my center back line, which is my grain line, all the way down there. We're not quilting along this line. This is just for reference so that we get all the other lines perpendicular to that. So I'm going to grab just a plain old ruler and a washable marker, and I am going to make marks at 1.5 inches, just horizontally all the way up and down this piece. I'm not going to do the triangle quilting on this one like I did on my jacket, just to save myself some time. It's still going to be really nice. I think I'm going to do just a plain old diamond quilting pattern, and that will be really nice. You're going to definitely want to have to wash your hands after doing all these markings, and probably your rulers too, because there's a lot of marking here. And this is the easy version. You could certainly do this on a vest that you did for yourself, and I will give you some links to some patterns that would, you could do that with. I mean, even if you just quilted like that, that would be just totally fine. I'm going to go ahead and add another row. I'm going to use my 60-degree mark, and I'm just going to kind of mark it with my center back just to start my line. My kids are making happy play sounds in the background, so that's kind of nice. I like when they make happy play sounds. I think I marked that mistakenly. This is a tricky thing. There's so many lines here that you kind of have to pay attention to what you're doing. Yeah, I sure did. Okay, if you make a mistake, just go ahead and take a marker and just kind of make a squiggle across whatever wrong line that you did. So these are kind of parallelograms right now. You can already see my hands are totally covered already. I haven't even gotten that far. And if anything's in the seam allowance, just don't worry about it, marking it. You don't have to go over every single inch of this to make it look nice. Okay, so now I'm just gonna go through the centers of all of my parallelograms to get that triangle quilt, to get my triangles for my pattern. And if you missed one or your pattern got a little bit off, just kind of do your best. It's more important that the pattern goes than it's like 100% of a straight line. Did I do that right? Did I get messed up? Ugh. So you just keep repeating this until you have all of your triangles there. And then we'll take this to the machine and get quilting. Okay, so now I have my whole back all prepped and ready. I have my thinsulate and my quilting fabric on the other side, which is going to be my lining, and then my back all ready to go, and it's prepped. I'm just going to use regular polyester thread in my top and regular in my bottom as well. You can use matching thread. I'm going to use a contrast thread because if it goes over to my other side, I'm not going to have to worry about the tension as much. I already know because I've played around with this that my tension is good. If you want to do a little bit of a sample, that's good. Okay, for your machine, go ahead and set it on a regular straight stitch and set your length to about 3.5. I found that is a really good length for your thread. Okay, I have to make this note about my machine too. It doesn't do well with this kind of size of thread, so I just stick it in a little jar and I put it behind my machine and thread my machine normally, and it works kind of fine. And it's actually in one of my button jars, so it makes kind of a nice little pleasant clinking sound. So hey, you do what you gotta do. But I'm just threading my machine really quick, and then I can just get going with this. Okay, I'm just gonna start I'm not sewing down that center line again. I'm just going to start on one of these kind of center lines, and I'm just going to go down, and I will just stitch until I get to the end, and then I'm going to move it. Now, it's really tempting when you get to an edge to just go stitch down that side and just kind of baste it in place. Don't do that. Just kind of stitch off the edge somewhere so you can get to your next line. And the reason why you want to do that is because you're going to create all kinds of weird tension issues if you just kind of close everything up. So don't do that. I am just going to go and grab this line. It really doesn't matter which line you go over. I mean, just that eventually you're going over everything. And even though we've kind of glued everything down and in place, you can just throw this guy right into the washer, and you're going to have to anyway to get rid of all of these lines from your marker. So yeah, just don't even worry about it. It's going to make things a little bit stiff and hard to maneuver, but it's not going to move on you, which is good. You can choose to go one direction and then go the other direction and then go the third direction, or you can do what I'm doing, which is just kind of going randomly across all the lines and grabbing them as I need to. My thread is getting in the way of my There's kind of no wrong way to do this. Again, with quilted clothing, your pieces are small enough that you don't have to worry about things shifting around on you or things getting too much in the way like you would like an actual quilt. So that is kind of nice. And then when I get to the bottom of the line, if you have an intersection like that, just lift your presser foot up and just put it down. And if you find, like I just did, that your markings are a little bit off, go for the intersection being clean versus being true, 100% true to wherever your marking lines are. That's where your eye is going to get drawn when you wash away all the marker lines. So yeah, go for the intersection over the marking lines. Definitely with my my homemade spray glue, it's a little bit more cardboardy to maneuver than it is with the spray and bond. But again, that was a choice that I made, and I'm not sad about it. Spray glue is stanky, even though that one's not. But you know, if something makes you feel sick, like don't use it. Don't use it. Okay, I'm just going to keep on going with all of my lines, and I will see you in a couple minutes. So I'm getting really close to the end. I've just got my one last line to finish here, and I'll show you what happens next. So I'm just going to make sure, so my line got a little bit off, so I'm going to go and make sure that one of my stitching line hits, it's hitting right at the intersection, not so much where my line is. Okay, so at this point I can just pull out my thread, and now I am just going to cut off the excess thinsulate and the excess backing fabric. Now I'm just going to have one piece that I'm just going to treat as one. So it takes a little bit of time. I would say it probably took me about 20 minutes to do this back piece, and this is a small piece. This is for, you know, like a 2T size. So this is pretty small. You know, a bigger adult size is going to take you longer, obviously. But if you didn't do the triangle quilting and you just did like just straight horizontal lines, that won't take you hardly any time at all. But you know, you can make this as complicated or as easy as you want to. And I don't know if I mentioned it before, but my horizontal lines are all 1.5 inches apart. So that's how big my triangles are, because I've got, you know, equilateral triangles, and I'm just gonna get rid of the excess here. Oh, I did have one little line. That's actually in my seam allowance, so I'm not gonna worry about quilting that one. Okay, and while I'm here, I'm gonna get my pocket ready too, because I don't have to. We're gonna need to quilt that, but not right this second. Okay, so this case I have a piece of lining fabric and my thinsulate. My thinsulate is against the lining fabric, and then my pocket is on the outside of this. And I'm just gonna stitch around my whole pocket with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, but this little spot right there I'm going to leave open for my turning, and I'm going to use this cool little tool for turning it. I'm going to drop down my stitch length to about 2.6. And if you can notice that I left this huge border around it, that's because I just didn't want to have to worry about things shifting around on me. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and cut around my pocket, and I'm just going to cut off the corner and the cut right next to my outer fabric line, just even with that. So everything is sewn except for that little hole that we left for turning. You don't have to line the patch pockets, but when you quilt them, it's just going to be a lot nicer. So I'm going to go in here with my fingers and just start the turning process. I might be able to do this without my tool. We'll see. Okay, I'm going to use my little thing, my little tool to just get in the little corners, poke everything out really nicely. Okay, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and take this to the iron and just press everything. You can see my hole. I'm going to press my hole under really, really well. And I'm going to use a little tiny bit of steam just to hold that in place. I don't have any steam on me right now. Ugh. But anyway, you can take a little piece of glue or just something that's gonna just hold that down so that when we go to quilt this on the front side in a little bit, it's not gonna go anywhere. Yeah. Okay, but there's my pocket. There's my pocket, and I've already done the other one. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you how to mark the lines for your front piece. Okay, so now I've got one of my fronts and my back piece here. Now, why didn't I mark this before, like, all my pieces at the same time? Well, the reason is that just like your overhead baggage, things tend to shift in, while you're sewing them. So we wanted to make sure that these side seams were going to be matched up perfectly, because there'd be nothing worse than if you marked everything and then everything is like off, a 1/4 inch or something, and then you go and try and sew your side seams, and then you're like, you don't want to have to do all of that fussing again. I got kind of cute, and I decided I've decided to mark these lines vertically, and then I remembered that I'm not doing vertical lines, so just ignore these lines for the moment, and I am just gonna make little marks. We're starting, the first line that we're going to draw horizontally is going to be perpendicular to the grain line, and it's going to be right at where the seam line is for my underarm seam. So that point to there. And I'm just going to make a mark like right, if I was going to continue this line straight across, like where that's going to be. And I'm going to do that for all the lines down here. And I can see that actually this is a little bit longer than that, and that's okay. We'll cut that off later when we square things off. Okay, so now I just want to mark those lines. And I'm keeping them an inch and a half wide. I actually did pretty good, it looks like, from where I was at. It looks like I might have to square off my pocket placement just a little bit from the pattern so that it's not like off too much. but that's okay. And I apologize for these vertical lines. It's going to look kind of screwy here. That's why I'm using a different marker, so I don't confuse myself when I go to sew everything. Again, if it falls outside of the seam allowance, I'm just not even going to worry about it. Okay, so now I'm going to just take one of these verticals and go mark the 60-inch. Actually, no, just kidding. I'm going to continue the lines along here for my, so I'm just going to continue the pattern from the back side for my lines that go this way. You know, and you don't have to do it this way, but again, it's a matter of, do you want your side seams to line up? Because it's going to look about 1,000,000 times better if you do than if you just kind of halfway do this. So yeah, it takes a little bit more time and a little bit more effort, but you are rewarded with something that's gonna just look really nice. Sometimes you sew really efficiently and sometimes you just take a little bit more time. There's no wrong way to do that. It's just, some things take more effort, and that's okay. Looks like I can get one more line out of this. Okay, so now the last thing that I'm going to do is just mark the intersections of where my green lines are hidden. Probably should have picked a different marker on a green fabric. So I'll just do that for all those sides, just so I can get all of my triangles, just like I did on my back. So I'll do that for this side, and I'll also do it for my other front. And again, I'm just gonna I'm gonna match up that side seam in the same place, so I get all those lines in there, and then I'm just continuing that same pattern so it's just consistent throughout the whole thing. And then this pattern has a hood, so I'll do the same thing on the hood as well. But the hood is not, I just wanted, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and share this with your friends. It'd be great to have more people join in on this whole quilting expedition. So thanks for watching. Happy sewing. For today, our quilting expedition.